Satnam, yogis and yoginis, hello, welcome back. One more part in the Mul Mantra course. We are advancing rapidly. We are already in Ajuni, in the 9th part of the Mul Mantra. Seems incredible how quickly we move forward, and we are coming to an end almost, yeah? We're in the very last ones. So let's go into Ajuni today as usual. We will chant a little bit and then we will do some reflections upon the sounds and the meaning of those sounds. Let's start by tuning into the Mul Mantra, by chanting it 3 times, and then we will chant up until Ajuni. Ek Onkar Satnam Karta Purak Nirbho Nirvairakal Murat Ajuni Se Bhangur Parasad Japa Ad Sach Jugad Sach Hey Bhi Sach Nanak Hosi Bhi Sach. Ek Onkar Satnam Karta Purak Nirbho Nirvairakal Murat Ajuni Se Bhangur Prasad Japa Ad Sach Jugad Sach Hey Bhi Sach Nanak Hosi Bhi Sach. Ek Onkar Satnam Karta Purak Nirbho Nirvairakal Murat Ajuni Se Bhangur Prasad Jap Ad Sach Jugat Sach Hey Bhi Sach Nanak Hosi Bhi Sat. Ek Onkar Satnam Karta Purak Nirbho Nirvairakal Murat Ajuni 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 Karta Purak Nirbho Nirvairakal Murat Ajuni. Well, the first thing that I noticed is that Ajuni is a long sound, and actually I believe there is a mistake here in this page. I just noticed now, because I think this U is long, so this should be like a Ajuni, like that. So another thing is, we have been talking around with the previous sounds, how the sound of the S is the sound of the Kundalini, and it appears with the Satnam, and it's not present again. And even though we can carry it forward like we did with the S and the K and the R and the T, we were doing like sacred, yeah, and the P and the R, that would be like the presence, yeah, sacred presence. We were playing around with this, bringing the S forward. And we did it also with some of the other sounds. But look, Sebang is the next time that the S appears. So the S is going to come back with the Sebang, which is the 10th aspect. This is the 10th particle of the Mul Mantra. And as I said, we are almost finishing, because there's really is more like 10 virtues and principles. Then we will complete with Gurprasad and Jap and Atsat Yugatsat. So this will be more like the completion of the mantra. But we're almost finishing. This is the 9th part. And even though Akal Murat was this combination of long and short, Akal Murat, Ajuni, they are all long. Ajuni. So it's a very long, elongated sound. That's the feeling that it gives me immediately. And the N, we have already been exploring it with, even from Satnam, but especially with this Nirba, Nirver. But the J, this is a sound that we haven't explored too much. And this is something to talk about, this J, because when there is a new sound, this is the sound that it's relevant. Why is this new sound appearing at this very moment? So Ek Onkar Satnam Kartapurik Nirpo Nirvera Kalmurat. There is no J. The J appears here. So that's significant. And we were also talking about how the first part from Ek Onkar Satnam up until Satnam was affirming our identity and God's identity, and then is Kartapurik, that's the inflection point, and then what comes afterwards is like negating. So not fear, not enemy, Nirbo, Nirvera, Kal, Murat, Ajuni. And this, up until Ajuni, these are the 4 aspects of negation, which we saw them when we were drawing it. Let me see if I show you, if you were here watching the other videos, you will remember it by seeing these diagrams. Let me take the Mul Mantra from behind. You will remember that we were seeing this. This is the saintly aspect, this is the warrior aspect, this is the affirming identity, and this is negating what we are not. And we are in the 9th here, which is the very edge, the very end. We are coming to a conclusion and a completion in some ways, The 5th being the sacrifice. This is almost completely. Number 10 is very singular, it's very special because it already has 2 digits. This is the highest digit, number 9. So this is in some ways the highest number, And so here we're coming towards this 9, and this is the last of the negations, the very last of the negations. So let's explore this a little bit. Let's see what the J sound tells us. Now, from the mantra course that I did before in this channel, you may remember this diagram if you were here. Otherwise, you can go and watch the mantra course. You're very welcome to do so. Now, the J sounds, these are sounds which vibrate in the upper chest and very close to Yam, which is the Bija sound for the Anahata chakra, the heart chakra. So this is the area where Ajuni is vibrating. Also, the N is also here. So Ajuni is a vibration that is going to be centered around the heart. So we've done the whole journey. We are coming to a completion, and in the very last step, these 9 steps, we are coming into the heart. And okay, let me take this away. But it's J, it's not Y. It's not yam, 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 it's J, J, jam, jam. If it was a yam, a yuni, which is similar in sound. And let me just open a new page for this. Number 9, Juni, both are long. So if this was a Y, this is phonetically it's written like this, which is different from written like this. If it's in a small letter, this is like the sound for Y. And then ayuni would be similar to the Spanish word for ayuno, which means fasting, or ayuda, to help. But it's not really this J, it's actually this J. It's not Y, it's J. So let's check a few words that are similar to this J-N sound, yeah? J with the N. So here we have, I think, the most immediate word that comes, as we are saying Ajuni, this June, the month, yeah, we could say. And the month of June is quite significant. It has quite a lot of things associated to the word June. First, it generally associated to the goddess, the Roman goddess Juno, which, by the way, is a warrior. Yeah, she's a warrior. She's always dressed like a warrior, and associated to a number of things, but basically eternal youthfulness. And vital energy. There is another way of interpreting why is this name June, because this is young. Yun is the young one. June is the young one. Why is a junior, like junior? Yeah, she's the junior one. Opposite to May, which is the major, which is the older one. Yeah. So there is May would be the major and June would be the junior. And so she is associated to being young, to being youthful and full of energy. So, yeah. Let me see, is this? Let's try to make sure it's in focus. All right. So, eternal youth, eternal youthfulness, vital energy. Now let's remember that in Akal Murat, when we were seeing Akal Murat, we said that it is undying. And in yoga, and in mathematics, the number 8 is associated with the symbol of the infinite, and which is a symbol also, aquatic symbol, yeah, of water and movement. And that therefore we were associating this Akal Murat to death and also a pranic energy, because you die when your prana finishes, right? So the number 8 being associated to this infinite source of prana, number 9 being associated to this eternal youthfulness, yeah, which is, even beyond the 8. That's June, yeah, the goddess June, the junior, the young one, yeah. But there's another thing about June. There's another significant thing about this month. This is where the summer solstice takes place, and this is especially significant because it's the day of the year where, in the northern hemisphere, yeah, when we have the maximum amount of light. So the days are the longest they can get, and afterwards, the days are getting shorter. Yeah, so after this summer solstice, that everything is darker, let's say. So this is the point that we are closer to the light of the sun. And this is going to be very relevant because you will remember that every time we do one particle, ek leads us to ong leads us to kar leads to satnam, and so on and so forth. And we will review how we connected from Akal Murat to here, but now we are already touching upon how we're going to go from Ajuni to Sebang, the sun. Yeah? Sebang is the sun, is the 10. Sebang is the 10th particle. The number 0 is perfect, and it symbolizes, God. And usually the sun is a symbol for God because it's in a way perfect. And in a way, without the sun there would be no life on earth. So it is like God giving us the gift of light. Yeah. And even when we talk about our own spiritual enlightening, we call it like enlightening, light, and we are associating light with the sun. So, and the light of consciousness, and sun being associated to consciousness as well. Therefore, so that means that June, the month which contains this day, which is the longest day, we are the closest to the sun, and the 9 Ajuni, we are the closest to 10. The sun of 10. So a lot of these things are already telling us we are getting very close to this perfection of the circle, yeah, of the 10th. But we're not yet there. we haven't arrived there. Let's see a few more words with J. Remember, this is it's not about the letter, it's about the sound, yeah, that we are producing. Now, there's a few words in English as well. Genie. Ajuni, genie, or genes. They contain this sound. And I believe they are very relevant words because the genie is kind of, he's close to being a sort of God in some ways because he has this magic that he can grant 3 wishes, right? A genie in a lamp. But there is the idea that there is something magical about it. The concept is that in some way, if the 8 was the infinite and is associated to death, in order to be able to cross death, to go beyond death, to go akal, it requires a certain magic. And then you touch the magic, yeah? So, in a way, because the seventh aspect, yeah, we have so many things which are 7, like the 7 notes, musical notes, the 7 days of the week. There's many stories, fairy tales with 7 dwarfs or 7 brothers or 7 sisters. 7 is a number that is very much present in our minds, and we work with number 7 in an intellectual way. We understand things. However, 8 being the number of death, being able to cross beyond death, it's not a logical understanding. It requires a certain kind of magic. That's why the number 9 in Ajuni, we can associate it to this genie who has this magic, special magic powers. Or a genius person is somebody who is not just intelligent, it's not just somebody who is, let's say, clever, but there is some higher intelligence, there is some magic in there that he's a genius, yeah? And this magic is also in our genes. It's kind of magical almost, the way our genes codify our physical structure and our body, how is it going to work with each other, all the different organs. It's kind of magical in some way that everything can be condensed into this little code, being the genetic code. So there is a lot of things connecting these concepts, and we have this sound, the J sound. There is another thing I would like to explore, and it's not only about the J and the N, but it's also about the sound of the vowels, which we don't often talk about the vowels, but there we go. Let's talk a little bit about them now. A, J in the middle, Ju, the N, and then the E. A, U, and E. A, U, I, Ajuni. Yeah? Now, why are these sounds relevant? And I want to mention them because Ekonkar Satnam Karta Purak, there the U appears. Nirbho Nirvera Kal Murat, the U appears there. And then we have the long Ajuni, the long U. But look, it's A-U-N. It's very similar to the Om, yeah, which we write like A-U-M. And we have this Om sound, and then we have also the A and the E, the I, Ajuni. Now, what is this? What are you doing, Ardaas? No, what is this about? Well, look. If we have a person, in the mouth, when you are producing the sound, the tongue moves in the mouth. And if we want to produce the sound, ah is just open and relaxed, ah. But as we want to do the oo, ow, ow, the tongue has to go up. This is for the oo sound. And if you want to do the E, I, the tongue actually comes forward like this. This is for the E. So, in effect, the effect is that the U sound wants to go up. Aum, 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 aum. It's a sound that's going to take us to the ethers, right? Going up. And it's going to wake up the Sahasrara, the seventh gate, the seventh chakra, and it's going to open the flow of Amrit to come down. Yeah? This is like divine essence that gives us immortality. You know, there's always this Amrit, and there's the poison which descends, and we need to collect the Amrit and filter the poison. Yeah, this is part of the yogic teachings. Now, when we do I, the movement is forward. It's like doing like this. It's like going like this. This is I. This is Ow. So when we do Aoi, Ajuni, we're actually going up and then coming forward. But because you are pulling up, the movement is actually more like that. Aoi, Aoi. Which is, you know, I explore this concept of 60 degrees in some of the videos in the channel, but this would be the progression from A to U to E. And we find this in Ajuni. We don't find it in other sounds in the Mul Mantra, but it's actually telling us the vibration, the path of vibration within the head as we are chanting. So we would be chanting from the bottom of the spine, we are vibrating up. Ajuni, and the E is pushing forward. Let me show you. This is an actual X-ray of, like, the X-ray has been, they have taken X-rays of the mouth as we are chanting the words, and then they they make the lines of where the tongue goes. So you see this is going towards the Au, going towards the U, I, going towards the E. So this is the forward, this is the higher position. And it's drawn in with this diagram generally. This is not from yoga, this is studying sounds, yeah? So the A going towards the U, or the A going towards the E is going forward, U is going upwards. So U, Au, going up, I, going forwards. And actually, I was listening to some Sikhs chanting this word, Ajuni, Ajuni. I was listening to a lot of them. And I noticed it's between a O and a U. Ajuni, Ajuni. It's not really Ajoni, and it's not Ajuni, a very, very, very U. It's more like between the O and the U. So it's this transition going upwards. And I think this is relevant for a number of reasons, but we will see more about this in a moment. So this is about the vowels. This is some English words with the J sound. These are some Spanish ones with the Y. But let's see now what Margaret Magnus has to say, because we always consult this lovely little book. Let's take a look at it. So I have many notes here from the mantra course. You can explore that course in the other video that I recorded. Let's just go to some of the relevant aspects. I already talked about the Amrit and the poison in that course as well. But let's see. J is an edge. Lech, wedge, hedge, ridge, bridge. It is linear with steep sides. It lives very tenuously with the ever-present danger of falling into the abyss. It has both the cut gems and the rejected junk. Okay. I mean, it has some other things that we can also connect in some way, but let's just take this concept, that there is an edge. Now, this edge, Now, when she's saying this, it means that many of the words with the J sound are related to the edge. Going towards the edge, finding the edge. In the edge, there's only one person who can be, so there's, jiggling and juggling and, making sure that you are in that right spot. Then if you find that point, then you can maybe jump into the abyss. Yeah, this J sound coming up. So, the fact that she's saying, look, this is both the junk or the jewel. This is like saying, we've been doing this whole journey, Ekonkar, Satnam, Kartapurek, the whole way up until Ajuni. We come to the number 9, the 9th aspect. And look, you either made it or you didn't. There's plenty of challenges along the way. There's plenty of obstacles. So if you get caught up in one of those, it ends up in the junk, in the junkyard. If you manage to crystallize your essence, if you manage to embody the virtues and avoid the viruses, then what you get is a gem. The gem is there. So finding the treasure at the end of the path. Look, this is the end of the path. This is 9. After this is 10. This is the edge in some way. Even in this other drawing that we were having, that we were exploring, this circle, as we were seeing this circle, I think I showed another diagram before. Is this one? Yeah. So you see, 9 is the edge, is the border, because after 9 is the 10. The 10 is the totality. So this is the edge, the end. This is, if 1 is the beginning, 9 is the ending. It's in a way when things finish. We're going to talk about the meaning of the actual words in a moment. But just to reflect that, this edge that Margaret Magnus talks about is this border beyond which there is something completely different. Yeah. So, we're going to get to this J, and as we are chanting Juni, and we are opening the gate of Amrit. We want to hold this Amrit. That's why we apply Jalandaravanda, yeah? J, to hold the Amrit, to refine this Amrit, get it into us, so that we can finally magically cross, as we are jumping, yeah, from the edge, we can cross into the 10, which is, there's only magic can take us there. And if you get to 10, that's the joining, that's the merger, yeah, joining a merger. This is what this jump is alluding to, yeah, this jumping forward, this from the third eye, yeah, this intuitive faith, jumping from that, a leap of faith, and then when we jump off the edge, then maybe, we can get to this 10 in some magical way. If we get, then there is join, there is merger with the sun, with God, with the light, yeah? These J sounds. So that's the letter J. That's quite interesting. Let's see what Gurumukhi and Sanskrit have to say about these words. And we find, let's see, in Sanskrit, let me put it here. When we go into Sanskrit, we find words as Jana, means a man, or a person, or even a common person, a commoner. Janana, it's the birth and the progenitor. Yeah. So, Ajuni, Ajana, if you look in Sanskrit, Ajana, actually not Ajana, but Ajana, yeah? Ajana, which is closer to Ajuni. This means unborn. All right. Now if we look into Gurumukhi, we will find Jun, meaning birth or existence, and Ajuni, in the way it is used in the Mul Mantra, will mean according to dictionaries, literally not liable to birth and death. Well, what does it mean? It means that you are free from being born and having to die and having to reincarnate. This is what has been alluded already in the previous part. Akal Murat means beyond death. Why is it beyond death? Because it's beyond birth. It doesn't die because he was never born, because he was always there. So God is transcendent, transcends all these circles, these cycles of life that we go through: life, death, rebirth, the cycle of reincarnation. God is always existing. Actually, we will explore that in the very last part of the mantra. At Sat Jugat Sat Hevi Sajja. It has always been like that. It will always be like this. And we, as humans that are, spiritual beings incarnated in this human body, when we are incarnated, that means we are subject to life and death. But we are trying to capture within us these qualities of the Mul Mantra. So it's relating to the existence in this planet as something that goes beyond life and death. So Ajuni would tell us, go beyond life and death. Akal Murat Ajuni is like beyond death, beyond being born, beyond the accept of being born. So it's kind of like a more cosmic view of our existence, let's say. There is another mantra which vibrates this J sound very strongly, and it's the mantra of Ajay, the mantra written by Guru Gobind Singh in the Jap Sahib, in his poem Jap Sahib, which I believe most Sikhs chant in the mornings. And Ajay, Ale, Abe, Abe, Abu, Aju, Anas, Akas. There is a lot of J sound. And actually some of the words that we have already been singing in the Mul Mantra, they are here. Ajay, Ale, Ajay, as it means invincible, but later on there is Abu, Aju, meaning unborn. It has says, Abe, Abe, like fearless, the Nirbhavan, Abe, is already there. There is Akal, the Akal from Akal Murat. So many of the negations that we have been seeing from Nirbhav, Nirvair, Akal Murat, Ajuni, they are within this mantra, the Ajay Ale mantra. So if somebody would want to meditate upon all these qualities that we are negating, the negating aspect, which is the warrior aspect of the Mul Mantra, a good way to do this as well would be to meditate upon the Ajay Ale, chanting that little part. Ajay Ale Abu Abu. Sorry, Ajay Ale Abe Abe Abu Abu Aju Anasakas. All the Ajay Ale segment. So that was written by the 10th Guru, which is the son of the 9th. But let's talk about the 9th, yes? We will talk about Guru Gobind Singh on the next video. And so let's talk about the 9th. We were talking about Guru Hari Krishna in the previous video, and I mentioned how he died very young, 8 years old. He sacrificed himself to purify the waters in that city that they were with smallpox, and there was like disease was everywhere. He sacrificed himself. All right. So the moment he died, he was so young. He didn't really appoint somebody. He actually left it kind of ambiguous. When he died, the last things he said, that was Baba Bakala, Baba Bakala. And people were like, okay, Baba is like the man. In Bakala is a city. Now in Bakala had moved Guru Hargobind, I believe, with his children at some point in his life. And the youngest son of Guru Hargobind, that's who would become Guru Tegh Bahadur. At that time he was called Tiak Mal, I believe, Tiak Mal, which meant something like the master of renunciation. But in Bakala, the moment that Guru Har Krishan said Baba Bakala, a lot of Sikhs who wanted to be Guru and who had some sort of claim on the throne, maybe because they were part of the blood from the family of Guru Har Krishan, they moved there. and they appointed themselves the new guru. So there was a period of confusion and turmoil because there were something like 22 false gurus at that time. Many of them were claiming themselves to be gurus. And so there was a confusion, who would be the next one, actually, from all these ones, who is going to be the next guru? And there is a lovely little story, and so I will relate it here because it makes sense, of how Guru Tegh Bahadur became the next guru. So at this moment, there was a good merchant, one very rich Sikh, who was, I believe he was sailing and he was selling his merchandise and making some profit and coming back. He was also spreading the teachings, I believe, in his journey. So he had a lot of impact outside. In one of the journeys, as he was coming back, he was caught in a terrible storm. And he was about to die. And his whole shipment was about to be lost. He was about to lose the boat and the ship. And it would have been a disaster. So he started praying very ardently and very strongly for God to please help him. And he asked, please, Guru, if you save me, I promise I will give 500 gold coins to you. Yeah. So he pledged 500 coins of the benefits he got from the trip to the Guru. Now when he got back, he went to see the Guru to give the coins, but then there was like 22 gurus. So who is the real guru? He didn't know. So he said, well, I mean, I pledged the money already. I don't want to go back in my word, but I don't know who is the guru. And he tried to find some middle ground. So he went around everyone who was claiming to be the guru, and he gave them 2 gold coins. And there would be these guys sitting on a kind of throne and pretending to be a guru, and he would put 2 gold coins and he would smile and, oh, why guru? Blessings. And he would just go away. And he repeated the whole ceremony for these 22 guys. Now, when he was about to leave Bakala, he was already thinking that, I've finished. There was a boy who told him, there is one more saint who lives in, I think it was kind of like a cellar, like an underground, something like the underground of a house. I don't know how to say it, like the ground under the first level, in the underground. And there's a guy there who is also from the family. He is also a very saintly person, and he's always meditating. And he said, well, I shouldn't go away without visiting this guy as well. Maybe he's another guru. So he went there, and there was Guru Tegh Bahadur, which he was actually honoring his own name, Tiak Mal, the master of renunciation. He had spent 27 years meditating down there, which is interesting also. 27, 2 plus 7 is 9. Yeah, this concept of 9. He had been 27 years meditating, mostly meditating just in silence or chanting the Naam. And he never claimed anything. He never went outside looking for followers or looking to assert himself or anything. He was just there sitting, meditating. And he was honoring his name, but he was also called Tegh Bahadur because of some wars that he was into. There were some fight. They were invading his city. He was defending it. He was only 13 years old or something like that. And he was very brave. And when they saw him fight, like a very young kid with the sword, like moving the sword here and there, he had studied swordsmanship and many other things. He studied the Vedas and other teachings. So he was, when they saw him fight like that, they called him, they kind of used the new name, Tegh Bahadur, which was like brave sword, or the best of the swords, sword handlers, the people who use the sword, something like that. So Tegh Bahadur is sitting there 27 years meditating, and there comes this merchant. He bows and devoutly puts 2 coins. And when he's about to go, the Bahadur, he kind of opens his eye, like, So, where is the other? Why are you not? Where is the other coins? Didn't you say you were going to give 500? Like that, which is, I think it's hilarious. You know, it's kind of like a joke because I don't think he cared about the money at all. But it was his own way of saying, look, you pledged 500. Now you're going to go back on your word? Are you sure you want to do that? You pledged it to save your life and your ship. and so that's how this merchant realized that he was the actual guru. And of course, he gave him the 500 coins, but he ran upstairs to the top, the roof of the house, and he started screaming, Guru, Guru Ladhore, Guru Ladhore. I'm not sure I'm pronouncing it correctly, but Guru Ladhore, like I found the Guru, I found the Guru. And everybody in the city, because everybody was confused about who would be the Guru. Then they heard him and they understood that the Guru had been found. And he was actually hidden, under their noses, under the house. And eventually he would be crowned the next Guru. So that's a nice story of how he became the ninth Guru. And he would be the father of Guru Gobind Singh, the 10th Guru. And he would sacrifice himself once more when the Mughals were the Mughal Empire was invading another area. They wanted to force conversion on some Kashmir Pandits, I believe it was, and Hindu Pandits, and they wanted to be protected, so they went to the Guru and they asked for protection, and the Guru said, well, this is really bad, because if they converted the Pandits, then many millions would be converted as well. But everyone should be free to, have any religion that you want. So he said, well, this is going to require a great sacrifice. He said something like that. It's going to require a great sacrifice. And his son said, well, who is the greatest sacrifice than the Guru? So, that's how he understood, okay, my son is ready. When the son is telling, well, you are the Guru. If somebody's going to be sacrificed, what greater sacrifice than you? Like that. Another hilarious thing, it's really dramatic thing, but kind of hilarious at the same time. The way this theater of passing the crown from one to another. But yeah, Guru Tegh Bahadur gave his life. He went to talk to the emperor, Aurangzeb. I don't even know his name. I cannot pronounce it, so I will not try. Aurangzeb, Saheb. I'm not sure. The Mughal emperor at that time, the one who had been creating all those troubles. And he was, his friends were, the 3 other 6 who traveled with him were tortured, and they cut his head, and that's how Guru Gobind Singh became the next Guru. Anyway, this is the story of Guru Tegh Bahadur. Let's explore the principle, the virtue, and the virus. I think we are ready to go into that. Let's not delay it any longer. Let's remember one thing, Akal Murat, the sounds, Akal Murat, they were very similar to, in Spanish, calmarte, which is to calm down, to be peaceful and to calm down. And I mentioned in the previous video how that's pointing out to this 9th aspect. Because if you have had the capacity to walk the whole path until the 9th point and reach there with your grace and your dignity and your commitment, if you've done Ek, Onkar, Sat Nam the long way, you must be very patient. You must be very calm inside. You cannot be anxious and nervous. You have to be very calm to do the whole journey. So, in a way, being able to reach this moment beyond death, apart from magic, you require a lot of peace as well. And also, Guru Tegh Bahadur was very calmly, they were his 3 other 6 were being tortured, and he was waiting for his turn to be, sacrificed in a way. His head would be cut, And he was doing that for the freedom for anybody to be able to have their faith. So 9 being unborn, this is the translation. And the virtue of 8 being compassion, and out of the compassion going and offering his head, there is something about peace and patience. It takes a lot of patience to do the whole journey up until here. And as I said, we are bordering on the edge of 10, would be the sun. But there is another way of losing your head, which is a different kind of losing your head, which is madness. When you get to the edge of sanity and you lose it. Yeah, you have to be very patient, very devout, very, faithful, very forgiving, very compassionate to do this whole journey. But if you go through the viruses, accumulating all these, all these viruses within, it's equivalent to losing your head in the sense that, you really lose the sanity. That's madness. So that's the very end. And there we go. We have reached the edge. We reached the edge. We are about to touch the 10th principle and 10th virus, virtue and virus. That will be Seibank. It will be on next video. If you enjoyed this video and you want more, click like. That's the best way to let me know that you are participating with us and that these videos are useful. Welcome to the community if it's the first time, and if you wish to do so, join the channel so you can be part of this community and we can share these teachings together. And until next time, thank you very much. Sat Nam.